All right, I think we live everywhere. About to start this stream. We're doing a coding challenge today called compare version numbers. So this should be an interesting one. I'm gonna give a couple seconds for people to jump in. If you haven't watched me do these before, these are coding challenges from KG.codes. You would usually do something like this in a coding interview if a company wanted to ask these style questions. And so yeah, we're about to go ahead and try to do this. I got the code in the screen up top, and myself is down bottom. And I'm gonna try to do some Q&A too while I do this coding challenge, and especially after. I try to answer questions about the tech industry, questions about my career, questions about coding, software development in general. But the main focus of the live is gonna be this coding challenge. So we're gonna see how it's gonna go. It's a medium. I looked at it a little bit before, so hopefully I'm prepared enough to do it on live. But we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I appreciate anybody that joins, and just let me know if you have any questions, comments. Please chime in about the problem. Please chime in with questions about the problem or about the industry or whatever. And yeah, we'll do it like that. Bravesh, what's up, man? He said, is it the problem of the day? This is not the problem of the day. I think I just found this one. Or maybe it was. I don't know. I think I just found it. Like I usually, before I do these lives, like the day before, I'll just find a problem that I think would be good to do on here. So I just picked one. Usually I look at the daily problem. If it's like a weird one that I don't think a company's gonna ask, I usually don't do it. I try to do ones that I think the companies will ask. I know this one has companies, but I don't have the I don't have LeetCode Pro, so I can't see what companies actually asked this one. But this one seemed like a good one to learn from. So yeah, I chose this one. But yeah, I appreciate the question. Oh, he said it was the problem of the day yesterday. Okay, dang, I didn't even know that. Or maybe I did. Maybe I did pick the problem of the day. My bad. I don't know, man. I just be like, I rush so fast to try to find a problem to do for these lives, because any friction will stop me from doing the live. Like any type of trouble, then I just won't do it. So I'm trying to get better about doing these lives more often. So yeah, anyway, LeetCode is corporate brain rot opinion. AI can do this easy. That's true, man. AI can do this pretty easy. At least as far as I know about the industry right now, is that a lot of companies, especially big tech companies, are still asking these type of questions to see how a developer thinks, about scale, how they think about data structures and algorithms. Do they know data structures and algorithms? Can they think logically? That's what they're trying to test here. They're not trying to test exactly how well you can use AI. They're trying to test how you logically think within the confines of code and scaling for these businesses that we're talking big tech businesses that have the largest scale in the world. And so they have to deal with inefficient algorithms and improving them and optimizing them. You need to understand they want you to understand how to do that. I do hear that some companies are switching over to AI based interviews. But for now, at least the people that, like the coworkers and friends I know that are interviewing right now actively, they're still asking these questions. So as long as they're still asking these questions in real job interviews, I'll still get on live and do these, and I'll still be practicing them. But we'll see how it goes. So anyway, yeah, I see a bunch of comments about the AI stuff, man. Yeah. Yeah, like I was using AI last night, man. I was trying to install what was it? It's this push notification service called OneSignal. You can use it to send push notifications for your app. It's a third-party service. And like I was using Cursor, and it just couldn't. It was like using old OneSignal instructions. And then when I went on the documentation, it was completely different. So it's like you could argue that I didn't give it the proper context, but like to me, that's something it should be able to do on its own. So, you know, it is what it is. But you know, so it's not perfect solution. These companies still want to know you can think logically on your own. You can solve problems if and when the AI fails. So that's what we're going to do tonight. No further ado, I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat. But like once I get into the problem, it gets a little bit difficult because these problems are they do require like a big focus to do these kind of problems to me. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this. This live is over. How about the sleep? What does that mean? I don't know. Anyway, do you have to be good at math? No, you don't have to be good at math to code or do coding problems. It may help in certain roles, but most programmer roles you don't have to be good at math. So hopefully I answered a few questions there. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into this problem. This problem is from LeetCode.com. If you want to go practice it, it's called LeetCode.com. It's where everybody usually goes to practice these kind of problems. This one's 165. It's called compare version numbers. I think it's an interesting problem that you actually maybe not see this exact problem on a day-to-day job, but you could see something similar. I could see where you do some string comparison type stuff. But basically what the problem's asking you to do is given two version strings, version 1 and version 2, compare them. A version string consists of revisions separated by dots with the little dot symbol here, string with a dot, a character. The value of the revision and its integer conversion ignoring leading zeros. My bad. The value of the revision is its integer conversion ignoring leading zeros. To compare version strings, compare the revision numbers from left to right order, in left to right order. If one of the version strings has fewer revisions, treat the missing revision values as 0. Return the following. If version 1 is less than version 2, return -1. If version 1 is greater than version 2, then return 1. Otherwise, return 0. So basically they're going to give you two version strings. They're strings with numbers and dots in them. And they're basically the value of the revision in its integer conversion ignoring is its integer. I don't know why I keep saying in. Is its integer conversion ignoring leading zero. So whenever you have a leading zero, you just take the number and strip off the leading zeros in front of it. And then you want to compare from left to right order. So let's go to the examples. I think it'll make more sense. This example 1, version 1 is 1.2, version 1.2. Version 2 is 1.10 or 1.10. In this case, they want you to put -1 and they want you to return -1, and the explanation is version 1 second revision is 2 and version 2 second revision is 10. So this one's actually higher. I mean, of course, version 1.10 is going to be higher than version 1.2. And they say here, if version 1 is less than version 2, return -1. And in this case, version 2 is higher. And so, yeah, because you look at the 1 first, and then you see that those are equal. Then you look at, you skip the dot, and then you look at the next section, which is a 10 here and a 2 here. And then you just go from left to right and see which version number is higher. This is how version numbers work anyway. So it's possible there could be an algorithm in a real job where you would need to do something like this. I don't know why, but maybe there could be something similar logic wise that you might have to do in a job one day. So it's an interesting problem, I think, because usually these problems are so freaking trivial that it's like, you would never even, it doesn't connect to anything. But at least this one's about version numbers. So it got like an interesting context to it. So anyway, this one's an interesting one down here. 1.0 versus 1.0.0.0. And version 1 has less revisions, which means every missing revision is treated as 0. So remember, in the problem statement, the missing revision numbers are 0. So whenever I compare two strings, if I'm missing, like if this one's 4 sections in it and this one's 2, then I can go ahead and add 2 more sections to make them equal on this one, but I just treat them as 0. So that's why they're just saying treat the missing revisions as 0. And then here you do the same thing. Like this would actually be version 1.010, so it can match the size of this one. This one's still, of course, 1.001. And so in this case, I ignore the leading zeros. So I ignore this 0, so this actually is 1.1. Here I ignore these 2 leading zeros. This is 1.1. And then that represents the same integer 1. So yeah, that's the problem statement. If you were reading this problem in an interview, that's kind of what you want to do, is just make sure you talk with the interviewer and make sure you understand the question that's being asked. If you don't understand the question that's being asked, then it's really no point in you continuing, because you're not gonna be able to do the problem. So take the time you need with the interviewer to get clarifications and make sure that you understand what the problem is asking. I understand this problem is I'm just comparing these two versions and figuring out which one is larger based on going from left to right. And as soon as I find the largest number in one of these sections, then I need to treat that version as the higher version. If I have leading zeros, I need to ignore these leading zeros or strip them off in some sort of way. And then if I have if they're unequal, then I need to just treat the rest of the values as 0. So that's important too. So there's a lot of important little nuances to this problem. Also in the interview, they may or may not give you something called constraints, which that lets you know the constraints of your problem, the constraints of the inputs and outputs. In this case, version 1 length, the length of version 1 is always going to be 1. So I have to worry about a case when the version, like an empty version, I have to worry about that case. Version 2 is always going to be less than or greater than or equal to 1, I'm sorry. And it's always going to be less than or equal to 500. And that just helps us know that the scope of this problem isn't going to go outside of the bounds of our programming language. Because there's some programming languages, certain like integer can overflow if the number is too large. Like numbers has a max and a minimum. In this case with this 500, I think what that's doing here, I don't know. It's just something I'm taking mental note of now. But I think this is in order to help us limit the problem scope here. So version 1 and version 2 only contain digits and the dot. So that's important too. Like I don't have to handle like alphanumeric or alpha what's the word? Like alphabet. I don't have to like handle letters. I don't know why I couldn't think of letters. And I don't know I was tripping a little bit. But yeah, it doesn't have like alphanumeric is like a mix of letters and numbers. This doesn't have letters, or it just has only numbers, only digits, single digits, or not single digits, multiple digits. Each character is only a digit. And then they're always valid version. So I don't have to worry about trying to handle a case where there's like 2 dots next to each other, or there's a missing number on the end. Like these will always be valid version of them. These are things you might need to ask the interviewer. Like you might need to check with them. Hey, do I need to check for these edge cases? Like, can a number not be valid sometimes? Can the version be empty sometimes? Like you need to ask the interviewer, because you may need to handle that case, because he may come back after you get the problem done and say, hey, can you handle if the version number is messed up? And so you want to ask them to know. And a lot of times they'll give you the constraints to try to constrain the problem down so that it's more manageable in the confines of a timed interview. And that's usually what the constraints are made to do, either make the problem be able to run properly in the programming language due to like some ridiculous scale that could be input, or it just helps, to constrain the problem down to what they actually want to test. So anyway, what I'm thinking, like if you ever see me do this, how I like to think through it is I like to think through how I would do it mentally in my head, and then I like to take that thought and that approach, and using the data structures and algorithms that I know, try to convert that into some solution that I can start to code out. So I would usually what you want to do is talk to the interviewer about your approach first before you start to code. Let them know what's going on in your mind, like how you're thinking through it. Give them a chance to help you if you're going down the wrong path by talking to them about your solution before you just jump to code. If you just jump to code, it's kind of hard for them to kind of get a chance to help you out and say, hey, I think maybe you want to think about this, or maybe you want to go try this direction, or did you think about this, or did you take this, you have to do, did you think about the problem statement? Like, are you missing something in the problem statement when you're trying to solve this? And so that gives them a chance to help you. But if you just jump to code, like I've seen so many people do, just rushing, sometimes you can get down a rabbit hole, and it's harder for them to they're not going to just say, hey, stop coding, and just, they're not going to give you that much of a hint. but they might give you a hint if you ask them. If you say before you start coding, say, hey, what do you think about my approach? Should I start coding it out? That's okay to ask in an interview. That they may help you, they may not, but you at least give them a chance to help you. So anyway, I would like how I'm looking at this problem. Let's look at this example here. I know that I'm gonna have to start looping through both of these versions together. So I'm already thinking a 2-pointer approach as far as data structures or as far as algorithms. And so that's something that you want to build up over time as you go and learn the foundations of the data structures and the algorithms in the programming language you choose. And you start learning the algorithms, to do these problems. That's why I always say learn the foundations first and don't just come in here to start doing problems at scale. Like you want to learn the data structures and algorithms that are used in these problems first. And I just know that 2-pointer is one of the approaches where I can basically have a pointer on this string and have a pointer on this string. And I can move these 2 pointers through the string and process both the strings together at the same time using two different pointers that can move sort of concurrently. They can move at different speeds, but they basically, I'm using them both to do some sort of operation. And what I'm going to use these 2 pointers to do is at each section here. So at this first section, I need to compare these 2 ones. If they're equal, then I need to keep going. And so they're equal in this case. Then I need to compare this next section, this 2 and this 10. And I need to figure out, I need to convert these 2 numbers and I need to figure out which one's higher. And so this one I actually need to keep looping until I see another period because I need to get the whole 10. I can't just stop at this 2. And I can't just stop at this 1 and compare 1 to 2 because I'm actually going to get the wrong answer. I need to keep looping until the point where I see a dot or I get to the end of my string so I know that I got the whole number. Convert that number to a string or digit or whatever, and convert this to a digit, a number, not a digit, a number, and then compare it to each other in this section. And then when I see that this 10 is higher than 2, I can go ahead and return -1 because I know that version 2 is higher than -1, which in the problem here they say if you get that case is this one, you get that case is negative, you return -1. And so here I'll do the same thing. I'll find this 1. And then I find this 1 and I'll see that they're equal. I'll keep going, keep looping my 2 pointers. I keep moving my 2 pointers. And then I'll keep looping until I get this whole piece here. And I'll keep looping on this pointer till I get this whole piece here. I need to ignore these zeros somehow. And then in this case, I would actually compare 1 and 1 and I would see if they're equal. And so once I'm done with both of these strings, I would know I didn't see any one was higher than the other. They're equal and I would just return 0. And I would do the same thing down here. I think one of the questions is how do I when I find these strings, how do I convert them to numbers? And then how do I take out the leading zeros? And then here, how do I, when I get to this point and I don't have any more positions over here, how do I set the position over here to a 0? So those are the things I need to keep in mind that I need to do. But I think that's the solution I want to do. I want to basically take 2 pointers and I want to compare each section, and I want to compare, once I find the number for that section, I want to compare it to the number from section 1 in version 1, section 1 in version 2, section 2 in section 1 in version 1, section 2 in version 2, and compare them as I go left to right until I find one that's not equal. And if they're all equal, I'll return 0. If one ends up being equal than the other one, I'll return either -1 or 1. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. And that's how I would explain to the interview as far as what my approach would be. And so I know somebody comment on here, hey, it's taking too long to get to the code and all that. I'm doing this to try to explain how an interview process works. Like, of course, I wouldn't over explain myself in a real interview like that to that degree. I would trying to go pretty fast, but you need to explain yourself to the interviewer, man. Because I think I do this for a living. I interview people too. I'm a software developer. I've been a manager before. I have to interview people, and the mistake I see is they just try to jump straight to the code. So I see people on the comments every time I get on here, they're like, just jump to the code, just go to the code. And I know I'm over talking, so to be fair, I get what y'all saying. But on the other end, it's like some people don't want you to do any talking. They just want you to just jump straight to the code. I'm like, if you don't practice talking in an interview, I've seen it 1,000 times, man. If you can't explain yourself technically, you can't get through the interview. They think that you could just go to the code and just write the right answer and think that everybody's gonna pass you in the interview. That's just not the case, man. If they don't know what the heck you're doing, then they could fail you, because it's not always just about getting the right answer. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the code though, since that's what we wanted, that's what we here for. So just go ahead and do it. So anyway, like y'all see what my solution is, at least as far as my mind. I'm gonna slide this over here. This is LeetCode.com. LeetCode.com scaffolds out the function for you. It's called compare version. And you pass in the version in version 1 and version 2, just like we had on the other side. And they want me to return a number, either 0, -1, or 1. The versions are a string, and I just need to do all my work inside of here. So I'm going to use JavaScript. That's what I work with the most in my career right now. That's what I interview in right now, because that's the jobs that I go for. That's what they call for, is JavaScript. And so that's what I interview in. So a lot of people are going to come on here and say, use Python. And Python's amazing. Python's great. It is a great language to do coding challenges in. You don't have to use Python. Like, JavaScript's a great language to do coding challenges in too. It's dynamically typed. It's not a very verbose language. It's very readable, just like Python. Maybe not as readable as Python, but it is very readable compared to other lower level languages and languages like Java. And so I use JavaScript. Let's be agnostic. Like, let's not become so allegiant to one language. Like, if you're, when you start to become a software engineer or a coder, you should be a little bit more agnostic and be able to read code in multiple languages. Like, don't limit yourself to just being like, I can only use Python. Like, if you can read Python code, you can read JavaScript code. So I know that comes up every time I do these lives about JavaScript. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get that out the way. So I promise you, man, if just because you're gonna be able to read it, even if you only know Python, you're gonna be able to read this code just as easy. And if you don't believe it, then I guess you're just gonna impress yourself today. I hope if you keep watching. But yeah, JavaScript's great, man, and Python's great too. So both of them are great for these coding challenges. I actually recommend one or the other for the coding challenge. But if you're going for Java jobs, there's nothing wrong with using Java in the coding challenge. You want to show the interviewer that you can do the coding challenges in the language that the job is calling for in the job description. Now, you can use another language if you say you're more comfortable with it, but you're taking a small risk there in the fact that they're really not seeing how good you are with the language that you're writing with. They're just seeing how good you are with Python or JavaScript or whatever. Like, you want to show them that you have a strong command of the language that the job is calling for. And most of the jobs I go for are in JavaScript. So I know that was a tangent, but I think that's important, man, because it's like the internet in real life sometimes don't match up. And like on the internet, it's like I heard somebody come in here and say like nobody's using any other languages but Python now, and I'm like, that's insane, man. Like, you can't be in the industry and say something like that. So it's Python is great. Python is super popular, probably the most popular language now, but there are like thousands of businesses not using Python at all. So and thousands of jobs out there in other languages. So just try to be agnostic. Anyway, that's enough of that. We're gonna go ahead and jump into the code. So the first thing I'm gonna do in JavaScript is actually change this to const, because var is not best practice to use var in most cases. You want to use either const or let to declare variables, because const will make sure that this can't be redeclared anywhere else. Using var, this will be hoisted to the top of the global scope, and it's possible that you could either redeclare it or get confused. Your application, you could write something to get confused, and this variable could get, or this function could be mixed up with another thing and cause basically it could cause what's the word I want to use, what's the word for like unpredictability inside of your application. like at runtime, because this language is dynamically typed, so you could have something else called compare version somewhere else and just get mixed up. So a lot of times it's best practice to use const, which means this can't be redeclared anywhere else, or use let, which means it just stays within the scope that you declared it in, and it doesn't get hoisted to the top of the global scope in JavaScript. So anyway, we're going to change that to const. And then the first thing I said I was going to do is I'm going to set up 2 pointers. I said I was going to do a 2-pointer approach. So I'm going to set up like index, what I want to call it. I guess I'm going to call it index 1. Try to use some short variables, but I want it to be readable too. Did that make sense to y'all? Index 1? Like, is that just, because I don't want it to just look like garbage, but I also don't have a lot of screen space to deal with when I do these problems on here. I just call it index 1. And we're going to start that at 0. Index 2. That's pretty clean. I'll start that at 0. And then now I wanna start a loop that will get me through version 1 and version 2. I need to go through all the characters in version 1, all the characters in version 2 until I get to the end. So I know a good way to do that is a while loop. I can basically say while index is less than version 1 dot length, or index 2 is less than version 2 dot length. I just need to make sure that I keep looping as long as I have either characters left in this string or characters left in this string version 2. And so from there, I'll just drop this down and have this loop. And at the end, I'm just going to return 0 because I know that the problem does say like return 0 otherwise. So a lot of times I do that just so I don't forget later. If I know that I need to do something like that, I'll just go ahead and return out down here. And yeah, and so just I'm thinking backwards. I know like I'm thinking from my output back to my input. I know that I need to return. I know I need to either return -1 or return a +1 based on these cases here. Return -1, +1 at some point. So I'm gonna write that and just leave it right there for right now until I can figure out how to make it use of it. But just because a lot of times people will do this problem, they won't even like get to the output. Like they just get so wrapped up and trying to do it, they don't even understand how to get to the output. Like you always want to have this goal in mind of what you need to get to, if the problem can call for it, for you to be able to do it. Oh, the other thing I forgot to do is I'm gonna put these up on the screen so y'all know what problem I'm doing. So at the top and I had to split this one up because it was kind of a lot, but yeah, at the top and at the bottom you can see what return needs to be returned and see what the problem statement was. I know it's a little small, but had to reduce the image there so it could fit on the screen. So anyway, the next thing I want to do is, like I said, at each section here, I need to, looking at this, I need to find the section and take it out and compare the two numbers in that section. And how I find the section is I need to find all the numbers until I see a period. And then when I see a period, I know that I need to stop and combine those numbers together to like get a 10 or to get this or get this or whatever. And so what I can do is I can set up a new variable called version 1 num. Version 1 number stands for. I'm going to set it equal to 0 to start with, because I also want to do that because, like I said, down here, if I don't have any more numbers in the section, but I have some in the other section, I need to just treat it as a 0 anyway. So starting at 0 kind of helps me out there. So I'm gonna set that to 0, and then I'm actually gonna start another while loop. I think I'm trying to remember what I want to do here. So yeah, like I said, I want to populate this number with everything up to the next period based on where I'm at with this index. So I think I want to basically say if index 1, I want to do this whole thing again. I actually don't know if I need to do this, but I'm going to just do it anyway. Or if index, if index is less than version and version 1 string at that index. So this actually pulls the value at wherever I'm at out of the version string. So that pulls the character out. If this is not equal to dot, then I want to go in here and do something. So because if it's equal to this dot, I don't need to continue. Like I need to just stop right there. Like I don't need to do anything at that point. I need to just stop. So, and then I know here I'm gonna have to update index. So I already know that's gotta happen. But here, now I need to update my version 1 number. And this is the hard part for me to figure out how to update this number. So basically, I wanna, here, if I see a 0, I just wanna ignore the 0. But if I see a 1, I want to make version 1 num be equal to 1. But if I loop again and see a 0, I actually want to make version number equal to 10. Or like if this was 100, I want the whole thing to be 100 or 1,000 or whatever. So I actually, every time I loop, I need to like multiply by 10. And this is where a little math. So somebody asked earlier, do you need math to do these problems? I guess sometimes you kind of do need a little bit of math. Yeah, I guess sometimes you really do need a little bit of math. So basically what I want to do is every time I loop here, I got my version number. I want to update it equal to version number. I want to multiply it times 10 because every time I move a place, that's a tens place. Like, and that's just math. Like for 1, that's your ones place. For 10, that's your tens place. If this was 100, that'd be your hundreds place. If it was 1,000, be your thousand place. And you multiply 10 in order to get to the next place. And so in this case, I actually want to take the version number that I currently have, multiply it by 10, and then I want to add whatever number it is to the next place that I have. So actually I want to take this and add this here, and this is order operations, so this would automatically occur first, this multiplication, but I'm gonna go ahead and put a parenthesis around it for readability. But yeah, so basically I want to update version 1 by multiplying it times 10 to get to my next place, and then I want to add whatever number it is to it. So like in the 1's case, I would start off with my version number being 0, multiply that times 10, that would give me 0 plus 1. So that would give me the 1. If I had this one, I would start off with 1. I would do the math that I just did. But then when I got this 0 here, I would have this current 1 times 10, because that's what version 1 equals now, is 1. But I'll multiply it times 10, but that would give me 10 plus 0. That would make the number be 10. So that's how I would get a numeral out of looping through each of these places here. And then in the cases where I have the 0, because it's 0, I keep multiplying 0 times 10, 0 times 10. I just keep getting 0. So it actually skips the zeros, just like the problem's asking me to do. It's asking me to, like, somewhere in here it said that the leading zeros, it said just skip the leading zeros. Yeah. So just skip. So this math that I'm doing here actually helps me to skip the leading zeros. So like this part of the problem, honestly, man, it's not really intuitive. Like, I think this is just something, like, this is a certain thing that you just have to know how to do after you've done a lot of these problems, is like knowing how to convert strings to numbers, knowing how to, there's another problem where it's like a multiplication problem on LeetCode.com. It's an easy problem. if you do that first, this would be a lot easier to know that you need to multiply times 10, add the number, all that kind of stuff. That's why I say, like, you got to kind of build up your tool set of algorithms, sub-algorithms, in order to build these algorithms to solve the whole problem, if that makes sense. That may be binary search. That may be backtracking algorithm. That may be a two-pointer approach. Like here, I'm using a mix of like a two-pointer, this math algorithm, a loop, like it's an algorithm within itself. And so, yeah, it's like a combination of things. But you got to have these things in your tool set. Oh yeah, and the one thing somebody said, why not just add all the numbers together and concatenate the number? Yeah, I guess I could do that, but I think it would be. I guess I could just put all the numbers. Yeah, why not just do it like that? Yeah, I think you're right. Just add all the numbers together and just convert it to a number. Because I think the one thing I didn't do here is this is still a string. So I actually need to use JavaScript's number conversion here to convert this to a number. Because this is a number. This is actually a string, a character, one character. And I convert that to a number. And then I just add it here. And I think you're right. No, because that would actually be more work because, yeah, it'd be more work because, so I would loop through, add all the things together. That'd be however long the number is. I'd have to add all those together. And then once I call number on it, it's going to have to loop through the numbers again to create the number. In this case, I'm creating the number with one loop, if that makes sense. So you would be creating a number with two loops if you first added the numbers together and then, but I don't know, because yeah, I think you would have to do that like that unless you just kept track of like the pointers and then pulled the number out. But I don't even know if I think that would still be a worse operation. But I don't know. I think you might be right. You might be right there. But I'm going to do it like this. And then I might come back at the end of the problem and try to change it to what you said. Because this is at least how I'm thinking about it. And I'm going to see which one actually runs faster. Because I'm thinking this will run faster. Just because I'm looping this one time and I'm creating the number. I'm not creating the string. And because you got to be careful when calling number. If this string in here is more than one character, that's actually a big O of N operation. We'll talk about time complexity later. But it has to go through this number function has to go through every single number and create the number. That's exactly what I'm doing already. So I don't really need to do an extra step of adding a string together and then call a number on it when I'm like already doing it here. So to me, it seems like I'm doing less, like more efficient work, even though it's more complicated. But yeah, we'll see. So anyway, I did this for number one. I think this is right. So yeah, I'm looping through when I see this. Then I move this pointer because I got to move to the next place in the list. And then this, I'm saying whatever number I currently have, multiply times 10 and then add the current number, convert it to a number. It's only a character. It's only a single character. So this is actually a big O of one operation, which is constant, which is a quick operation. So that's fine. And then I also need to do this. I don't know why I said that's so weird, but I also need to do this for version 2 as well. So I need to do the same thing. And I can't really use the same loop because these indexes could be different. So I'm just going to literally copy and convert and just change everything to 2. So like this is version 2, this is version 2, this is index 2, this is version number 2 or version 2 number, this is 2. And I had to make sure that I actually change all of these because if I don't, it'll screw up the whole thing. Yeah, that's version 2, index 2. Yeah, just make sure I don't have anything mixed up in there. Yeah, so this gives me so what this gives me as a result is version 1 number and version 2 number. After I did all this work here from these lines from 10 to 19, gives me version 1 number, version 2 number. now I can compare these numbers just like it's telling me to do here. Sorry. Like just like it's telling me to do here. I can compare these numbers. So I actually can say if, and I don't know, I think I got this all. Why am I versing? I'm sure somebody tried to correct me in here. It's supposed to be version. I put version. Oh, this makes it drop down a line. I hate that. All right. So that's version 2 number. Version 2 number. Yeah, I just messed up the typing on that. Yeah, and then it dropped down a line. Maybe if I like move this thing, can I like change the spacing to like be 2 instead of 4? I don't think I can change the spacing. Yeah, I'm just trying to make this more readable for y'all. I guess I just need to drop this down a line here. Oh no, that didn't help. Shoot. That wasn't it. It was this right here. Dang, man, there's no way to. I just moved. Dang, that didn't help either. Dang. I'm just trying to help, man. Maybe this version 1 number. Because it's really a section. So it's really like section. It's really like, I could just call this like num1, num2. Just to make this shorter. And I know this is like not important, but I'm just trying to make it more readable. Because it's gonna, I don't have a lot of space on here on this video. So I'm just changing this to num1 and num2. Just so I can read it better. But this basically corresponds to the number that's in that section for version 1, and the number 2 is for the number that's in the version 2 in that section for version 2. And so basically I can say now I can say if num1 is less than num2, then return -1, just like my problem said. And then of course if it's like backwards, and I put num1 here, it should be 2. If it's the other way, then I return 1. Otherwise, I return 0. And so that's pretty good. The other thing I need to do is, since I'm looping through with this index here, I actually need to skip these dots when I see them. Because I don't think I'm doing that. I don't think I'm skipping the dots when I see those. If I get here, I think, yeah, the index, yeah, if I see a dot, then I stop the loop and I don't actually increment. So I actually like if, I think I want to say, I want to copy this right here and say something like this. This could be wrong, but I'm thinking, yeah. So if it's less, because if it's not less than this, then I don't need to mess with it because it's done anyway. There's no dots left because I might be at the end and there might not be any dots left. So if there's no dots left, I'll just leave it like that. But if it's either if it's less than and and this equals to the dot. So instead of not being equal, I actually want to check if it's equal to it now. Then in that case, I actually want to I want to do an index bump right there like that. And I want to do the same thing for, of course, like everything else in this problem. I got to do the same thing for index 2. And I hate the naming that I did here because I know it's not as clear, but I don't have enough space to really. I'd rather not be just dropping down weird lines and stuff. But I don't like how this looks though. So yeah, but I think this is right. So yeah, index 1, index 2. So that's my 2 pointers. Yeah. And this looks good, man. I think this looks good. Yeah, somebody said you should use split. So using split will actually, I'm gonna tell you why I wouldn't use split here. And it's gonna sound stupid, but using split actually will create an array. So you obviously know how to use split. Using split will create an array, and that will use more space in my algorithm. So if you know like big old time and space complexity, if you start creating data structures up in here, then like arrays and new arrays and stuff like that, then that actually causes space complexity to be used, and I want to keep that as low as possible. So if I actually use split, that creates a new array based on the size of the sections in version 1 and 2, and I actually don't want to do that. I can do it, but then it's gonna raise my space complexity, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you. Your name is some leaves, I think. I don't know what your real name is. It's just a leaf emoji. So I definitely good. I'm glad you mentioned that though, because that is a good idea. But it's just a lot of this stuff you have to think about the time and space complexity. Are you actually adding more time and space complexity? And so yeah, it's a lot of questions with that. But anyway, so when I get to this point, it looks like everything is good. And I'm gonna do something a little different today. A lot of times what I used to do is like I would run through the code manually, and I would not run, like, because some interviews ask you not, like, they don't have you run the code, like they just have you writing in a notepad or writing in the thing, and they say, hey, you need to explain to me and trace through your code and prove to me that it works with the inputs and outputs that are provided. It sucks, but I've been in some companies, I think Airbnb made me do that, Amazon I think made me do that. Like I couldn't run the code. Like I had to prove to them line by line that my code worked. This time I'm gonna actually do the opposite. I'm gonna run the code first, and then I'll do the line by line thing later. But I am gonna actually check that my code, that I didn't make a mistake. You want to do that at least first, like, so I know I got my inputs version 1 and 2, index 1, 2, 0. While index 1 is less than version 1 dot length, then yeah, it's got to be less than version 1 dot length, because it can't be equal to it. Or yeah, so it's either or. This is index 2 version 2, num1 equal to 0, index 1 if it's less than the length still, and it's not equal to a dot, version 1 index 1. Yeah, that's right. Then update num1 by multiplying it by 10 plus adding the number converted at that space, converted to an integer. Then increment index 1, do the same thing at 2. I'm just gonna literally just make sure these are all 2s, and make sure it's the exact same logic, because I already went over this logic. But yeah, all that's 2. Then here, if num1 is less than num2, return -1. Is that the case here? Yeah, if version 1 is less than version 2. And so what I'm doing here is this is actually every section. This number, as I'm looping through it, this number 1 and 2 will be like, if you don't understand what's happening, the first go around, num1 would be 1 here, and num2 would be 1 here. Or yeah, and then when I get to the next number section or whatever, num1 will be 2 and num2 will be 10. And then once I compare 2 and 10, back over here, man. Once I compare 2 and 10, I would actually get to this state here where this equals -1. If it's the opposite way, then I get negative, then I give a 1. And then here I just do an increment whenever I see a dot, so I can skip over the dots, so I can go back into these loops properly. This is more like a maintenance steps here to like make sure the loop keeps going properly up here. And then yeah, if I don't ever hit any of these cases, like I get through and these are always like equal to each other, then that means I got an equal thing like this one, and I should return 0. And so in that case, in my algorithm, I just return 0 at the end, which just saves me and knocks everything out. So I reviewed the code. It looks good. Doesn't look like it has any bugs in it. Y'all let me know if y'all see any bugs or anything like that. But I don't see anything. Appreciate it, Robert. YouTube. Appreciate the comments. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and run this, man. I'm gonna go ahead and run this. So LeetCode lets you just run it against a few test cases. Okay, yeah. So I got this test. Yeah. Yeah, so I actually got, so it actually runs it against these test cases over here. Example 1, 2, and 3, and then 4. I think I added that one before I started. Yeah, before I started the video, because I like this. This one is an interesting one, but it was missing some edge case. I think I added, yeah, like what if it was 0, 0, 0, 1? This is actually a higher version than this version, because this is just 1.0. Then you have to add the trailing zeros on. So this is actually 1.0.0.0, and this is 1.0.0.1, which is actually higher. So I actually added an extra case. So we'll see how it performs against the extra case. I was hoping like that's to help me catch if there's like a bug in my program that these first 3 cases might not catch. So these are just the cases from over there. They're just the same cases we already just been looking at all day. And so I'm going to run this against those cases. See if I get any issues. All right, first try, I got all these test cases right. So yeah, like that 1.2 and 1.10. Of course, 1.10 is higher, -1. Case 2, of course, this one's higher. No, I'm sorry, these are equal because you take off the leading zeros. So these are both 1.1, 1.1. You should get 0. And I'm just going to skip to the last one. This one is higher, like I said. So version 2 is higher. You get a -1. So, yeah, and that one's fine. I'm just going to assume that one's fine, too. So that's looking good, man. That's good. So, actually, before you run it, like I skipped a whole step. And I know some of y'all are like, what the heck? If y'all done these interviews before. I was supposed to talk about the time and space complexity. I skipped that whole step just in a rush to run the code. But the code's looking good so far. I still got to run it again against all the LeetCode submissions. But let's take a quick step and talk about the space and time complexity. I know it's boring, but you got to, if you skip this in an interview, they're going to ask you. Like, I wouldn't have forgotten it in the interview. They would have asked it. Like, I wouldn't have to just tell him that or her that. They would ask me that. After I get done, they'd be like, oh, okay, your code looks good. What's the space and time complexity? They might actually ask you after you run it. They might actually ask, because you might be just trying to run. You might be like having more bugs than I had. And so once you get it running, then they might ask. They could ask you after. So I may not be out of pocket here. But anyway, space and time complexity these are the reasons to why they ask these trivial style questions, is for you to optimize algorithms and know what the space and time complexity of your algorithm is, so you know whether or not you need to optimize it, or you know whether or not it's inefficient. And so space and time complexity are measured by or notated by a thing called Big O notation. And what that does is a way to describe how your algorithm scales in reference to the size of the input, as far as time and as far as space. So as the version 2 grow in size, because like we're thinking about big tech companies where they're dealing with massive scale. So like version 2 and version 1, they can be, in this case, they can be 500 digits. So like we're looking at examples of like 2 and 3, 4, whatever. It could be 500. At a big tech company, when you put this problem in the context of a real use case, this could be 1 million or something. I mean, it could be whatever. It could be, a lot of records or a lot of data you need to process. It just depends on what it is. And so as this algorithm scales, the time complexity is how many operations are having to be run in correlation to how the input is scaling. Space complexity is how much data in space additional data in space is being used as the input is scaling up. Like, is it scaling proportionately to the input? Is it scaling exponentially based on the input? That's pretty bad, because that means you're using like exponentially more resources on your application, on your server, just to try to run more data. Like, it's getting exponentially worse. Is it quadratically worse? It just depends. So That's what space and time complexity are. You have to learn about those things. Somebody's name on here is Kelvin. He said, "Where do you work?" Dang, I only know like one other person named Kelvin, I think, in real life. Maybe that is you. But I thought you had a picture though, so I don't know. But yeah, I work at a like a mid-size tech company, as a principal software engineer. So I've been in the industry a long time. So I work as a professional software engineer, principal level. So I do these interviews. I've done these interviews. I've passed these interviews. I've failed these interviews. So I guess if to give me some sort of credit, I at least got the credit to talk about this stuff. Do I pretend that I'm an expert in LeetCode and I'm just like, I'm not pretending to be an expert. I'm just on here just trying to help myself and help people. I don't know everything about LeetCode. I can't do every single LeetCode problem. Like, I just have done good enough to get some nice offers from some big tech companies. So I at least got that validation point. But I'm humble enough to say that, like, I don't always get it right. Like, I definitely don't know everything. So that's why I'm on here. And that's why people in the comments have been telling me stuff the whole night, which has had to make me think twice. So that's why I'm on here doing this. So anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So, time and space complexity. So, time and space complexity measure is notated by big O, and it's all, like I said, it's all about. I'm about to be done with this, y'all. This part of it. It's all about how does it scale in relation to the size of the input. The size of the input here. If you ever have trouble finding it, sometimes you can look at the constraints and find it. The size of the input is the length of version 1 string and the length of version 2 string. It can be up to 500 characters. It can be as low as 1. But let's pretend in the case that it's not 500 characters. It could be 1,000,000. It could be 1,000. It could be infinite. Let's just pretend, and for the sake of big O notation. So let's call it n. Let's not call it 500 max. Just call it n. Like, let's give it a variable n. In big O notation, n is one of the common variables that you use. And if you have a second thing, like here I have two things that are scaling. Version 1 length and version 2 length. So let's call the next one m. It's called a version 1 length n and the version 2 length m. Let's just give those names. When I'm looking at my algorithm, just time complexity is how many operations at scale are being run in relation to my size of my input. So not just these two things run what's called constant time. It doesn't matter how large these are, these will always run exactly the same as they run today. But this line here, how many times this loop happens, is directly correlated to the size of version 1 and version 2 length. This is where your time and space complexity can come in when you are either building a data structure or doing a number of operations that are directly correlating in some sort of way with your input sizes, with your n, with your m. And so in this case, I'm doing this while loop as many times as I have length, or as many times as I have length in version 2. So it actually will run whichever one is higher. And it's going to have to run through both of them. And so I think it's actually the number of operations actually would be, I'm going to have to run through every single one, because here I don't actually have to run this loop that many times, because I'm running these loops in here and iterating this faster and iterating this faster. So really what I'm looking at is here. And basically what's happening here when I think about this problem is the only thing I'm doing is I'm checking character by character. I'm going through each of these strings and checking character by character. That's what this whole thing is doing. So that's how many operations I'm going to do is simply checking 1, 2, 3. I'm checking all these characters, checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here I even check more characters here because I kind of add some more on, but that's beside the point. But I basically check all these characters one time and no more. I'm not like exponentially checking more times. I'm just linearly checking as many characters as I have in this string plus what's in this string in this whole thing. that's what I'm doing. All these like simple operations in here, they're just happening one time. But when you combine this looping here with this looping here and plus this looping here, you actually get at scale that many operations. That's how at scale this algorithm will, the number of operations will scale. And so in big O notation, constant operations you can pretty much ignore because they're nominal. Because like it doesn't, like as this increases, these constant operations are nominal. But the important part is the operations, how the operations are scaling in relation to the size of the input. And so in this case, without more talking, it's going to be n, like I said, plus m. So big O notation, you kind of do a big O, lower uppercase O, I'm sorry, and then you put inside of here whatever like your notation is. And this is considered, I guess, linear, because it's n plus m. Usually linear is like you only have one like input and input size, but in this case I have two separate input sizes, so I actually had to put n plus m because it's n. I'm looking over both of these together. So whatever the size of n plus m is, and it's linear time complexity. Space complexity, like the guy asked before, Robert asked a great question. Why not use JavaScript split to take these versions? What JavaScript split will do is actually, it will automatically break out. You can put a delimiter in here. It'll automatically break out each of these things into their own sections and put these both into an array. The reason why I don't want to do that is because if there's like 500 different characters in here and dots or whatever the case is, then I'm actually going to be creating like, or they say it's 1,000,000. I'm actually going to be, when I do JavaScript split, I'm going to be creating a new data structure that has to house all those splits that I did, because that's what split does. It creates an array. And whenever you create data structures in an algorithm, that causes space complexity increase. And so if I had done that, I would have had an array of all the splits, which we can just call it, each one would have its own split. So it actually would be however many splits, let's call that n for the version 1, and however many splits, let's call it m for version 2, and it will be linear. That's okay. That's not bad. I think that would have been a great solution. Like I think an interviewer would accept it, but I think mine is better because I don't actually, for space complexity, I don't actually, all my variables are constants. Like they're just integers. Like this is an integer, this is an integer, integer, these are integers, integer. All these are constant space. They're not any data structures. They're not arrays. They're not maps. They're not heaps. They're not stacks. They're not any sort of data structure, hash map. They're none of these data structures. So I'm actually not creating any new data structures. Like I'm just creating simple primitive variables that are constant, taking up constant space, and they're being like wiped out as soon as they're out of the execution context. And so actually my time complexity is big O of 1, which is also known as constant space complexity. Or I think did I say space complexity? Yeah, space complexity. That's what I meant to say. I don't know if I said that, but anyway, yeah. So that's actually a better space complexity. So if you look at time complexity on Google and you look at the map here, this little thing came up, and I moved this over a little bit. So you can see big O of 1 is down here. It's in the green. Big O of n, linear, that's the same as the big O n plus m that I did. It's in the yellow. It's okay, but it's not better than big O of 1. And if you start getting up here, n log n, especially if you get up here to like n squared, quadratic, and then or if you get to 2 to the nth power, get to like exponential time complexity or factorial time complexity, then it just gets out of control. Or is this polynomial? I always get some of these mixed up. One of these like polynomial or something. But anyway, they're bad complexities up toward that way. So yeah. So that's why I decided not to do that. So Anyway, now I've talked about all that stuff. Now I can run it against LeetCode. This little submit button on LeetCode.com that I can run this against. It'll run it against a bunch of different test cases. Ooh, man, I'm glad that junk worked, because I thought I was gonna have to do some more work. I was not wanting to do that. So yeah, it ended up working. So it actually ran it against 89 different test cases when you run it against LeetCode's all the submissions. They say I beat 100% runtime of everybody else. I don't know if that's true or not. This thing lies sometimes. You run it again, it'll say something different. So you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. I beat 47% of everybody else as far as memory usage. So this is where your time complexity come in. Runtime complexity, memory or space complexity. That's what these things, that's what space and time complexity correlate to on a machine, that like a server that is using resources. So if my algorithm is bad, if my runtime complexity is bad, if I have an inefficient algorithm, the more data I feed into that program, the more runtime, which is directly correlated with the CPU, the more CPU utilization that will get used up. And that will cause machines to fail. That'll cause them to have to scale automatically if you have it set up like that, if you have your infrastructure like that. But that costs money if it has to do that. If you don't have the money or you don't have the infrastructure to automatically scale, then it'll just crash. And same thing for memory. That's your RAM on the machine, on the server, on the, whatever you're using to host your application. If you use too much runtime memory and you use too much RAM, then your machine will crash, or it will have to horizontally scale. And then it'll cost you money. It costs the company money. And just because your algorithm is inefficient, if you can make your algorithm more efficient, you can save the company money, you can save crashes, you can save on issues. And so that's why Google first came up with these LeetCode style problems, because they handle massive scale. Google, Facebook, the FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. You can throw Microsoft in there. You can throw, y'all know all the big companies. They're handling the frontier of scale. Like Facebook, Netflix, of course, is like pioneer in streaming. Like they're handling they basically invented scaling streaming services. Facebook basically invented scaling social media. So it's like at that level, at that range, at that type of scale. Google, of course, invented scaling everything. They, a lot of different things, I ain't gonna say they invented it, but like these are tech companies. Like these are not like, these are companies that have to write code around the things that they're scaling. And so they want their developers to be able to optimize algorithms to save money and to save crashes and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, so I was just reading some comments. So anyway, yeah, that's where I got here. And I think this will let you analyze the complexity. Yeah, so I analyze the complexities, n plus m. So I was right there for time complexity. You see. Yeah, and then big old 1 for the space complexity. So I don't even know. LeetCode could get these wrong, but I'm going to trust that they got it right, since that's what I said too. So yeah, man, everything looking good with that. Yeah, so the solution's looking good. Slide it back over here. And yeah, I think I'm in a good spot with that. I'm probably going to take like 15, 20 more minutes and just answer some questions. I'm done with the problem. I explained to the interviewer the time and space complexity. The problem runs correctly. At this point, I'll be getting off the interview. Now, this type of problem, it's a medium problem. So typically what I've seen is that you would probably get about 30 minutes to solve this. Sometimes they'll give you 45, depending on your level. The next level of question is hard. Those are usually taking up the whole interview, like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. Like you don't have any time for anything else. But these, it's usually like 30 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes if they're like rushing you. Sometimes they give you an easy and a medium for like 15 and 30 minutes. So you would have to go through it a lot faster than I did. And I realized that. I know a lot of people came in and commented and said, you're going too slow, blah, blah, blah. But I'm also wanting to be a teaching moment. I want to show people like how you should be the principles and practices you should be doing in these types of interviews. It's not just about the code. Like there's certain things you should be doing, certain things that they're looking for, certain positive signals you should be sending them. Because sometimes you can pass an interview and not even get the problem right if you send enough positive signals. And so you want to make sure you're doing all the things to let the interviewer know how you, not just how you code, but how you think, how you problem solve, how you reason through these problems. And that's why I took so long to do all that talking, but I also was just distracted just trying to like teach about the interview process. So I wouldn't take nearly as long this long in a real interview, but I think it's helpful to myself to reiterate those things, and I hope that it's helpful to at least some of y'all that are in different stages in whatever, the reason you're on here for, whether it's just simple interest or you're trying to actually enter the tech industry in some sort of way, become a software engineer, or you're a software engineer and you're about to start lead coding and doing coding challenges to try to get a new job. Or if you want to get some of that big tech money, man. Like I know a lot of companies don't ask these, but those big tech companies, sometimes to unlock those big tech company salaries, they hide it behind these lead code questions. So I know for me, man, it was a point in my career, probably like 5 years in, I was like, man, I'm never doing these leak code problems. And then I realized, I was like, some of these companies, man, they just not letting go of the money unless you really know how to do these problems. So I had to kind of eat my pride and like learn how to do these problems. So anyway, Lyra, I love the content. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Is this a brute force? This is not brute force. This is considered an optimal solution. Not the most optimal, but it's considered an optimal solution as far as a coding interview. So I'm gonna answer some questions. I'm gonna put this little thing on the screen. I think, dang, it got covered up. Hold on. I think I can move this out of the way. I'm new to this streaming joint. Well, I'm not new to it, but like moving stuff around the screen and stuff, I ain't really. Yeah, so I just put this on the screen just to let people know if they jump in, they'll know where I'm at with it. I'm just answering questions. I don't know. I hate this thing. I just use ChatGPT to make this. I hate how it look. It looked terrible. So I don't know. I might take it down. I'm taking it down, man. Getting on my nerves already. Look terrible. So if you jump in, I'm done with the problem. If people on here just comment and tell people that I'm done with the problem, because what happens if people jump in and like, why are you just sitting there? I'm like, I already did it. Maybe I should put something right here, like problem completed or something like that. I can't spell. When people watching, man, it's hard to type, man, for real. I can type code better than I can type English sometimes. See, look, I'm talking about some problem complexity. See, my mind's messed. I'm sleepy too. It's over, man. I'm done. Problem completed. So I I'll answer some. I'm gonna read the chat, answer some question. What's the answer? That's Vihan. What's the answer? Question again. This time, exactly one person answers correctly. How many? I don't know what you're talking about. Say how many? I don't know. This a joke? I don't know what you're talking about. Incorrect. Polynomial means the time it takes for the algorithm to run. No, I don't think polynomial means the time for it takes the algorithm to run. That's a polynomial is a I think it's a type of one of these algorithms. So you have constant, logarithmic, linear. That's the one we were on. Quasi-linear or quasi-linear. I just call it n log n. I'm sorry. Quadratic. That's n squared. Exponential. Yeah, so I said exponential first. 2 to the n power. And factorial. I did say that one. The only one I don't know, what is polynomial? Then where did I get that from? You might be right, man. I don't know. I might have screwed up. Oh, my bad. Y'all couldn't even see that. I was looking at this. Is polynomial on here? I think polynomial means if this number changes, like if this is like 3 or 4 or 5, I think. Or if this is, yeah, I don't know, man. No, I'm not. I knew that last time. Polynomial relationship. Whoa, I'm getting some weird stuff, man. And getting in some old weird stuff. Oh yeah, polynomial. Okay, yeah. So polynomials is actually the if the constant is also like a variable itself. So like, shoot, where the heck am I at? Go back here. So like if this was like n to the kth power, so like if this 2 was based off of some other constant instead of it just being 2, like if this was n times n times n times n, or it could be n times n times n, n times n, n times n times n times n times n. If that has a variable factor too, the actual exponent, then it would be n to the kth power, and that would be polynomial. So it does technically mean how long it will run, but just to give more detail of what the polynomial, because I remember I had a problem I did like 2 weeks ago that was polynomial, but I just completely forgot. Because I'm not actually like, I'm a little rusty, man. I'm not actually practicing for interviews right now. I'm just doing this just to stay sort of like warm, you know what I'm saying? Now, when it's interview time, like you gotta know all that like at the top of your head, but like when it's been like 3 or 4 years, it's like you just kind of like, chill out. And I think now, it's been like 2 years. So, I haven't really been actively looking. So, yeah. So anyway, going back to some questions. Let me try to speed up some questions, man. I know y'all had questions the whole time I was doing this. Some people did. So I'm sorry if I didn't reach everybody. Any advice on skills projects to work on? Yeah, let me go back to polynomial time is the amount of iteration of algorithms takes. That's not right, man. Google or Chat GPT it, man. That is not correct. But yeah, get your own answer, man. I think you'll find out either way, I guess. But are you working? Or are you currently a student? No, I'm old, man. I've been working for a long time. I'm a principal software engineer at a tech company. Not gonna talk about the company itself, but it's like a chat company, a tech company, like a mid-sized tech company, not a startup, but not like it's not like a big tech company. It's like mid-sized, and been working for a long time. So been in the industry a long time. Any advice for skills or projects to work on for a first-time full offer? For a first full-time offer, have internship but 2-year gap. I mean, you got an internship, so that's pretty good. Like you already got something on your resume. But that's a good question about skills and projects. I do think that it makes you more competitive now. I do have a good piece of advice. Do some like contracting, and what I mean like freelancing, contracting. So even if you got to do it for free, find some businesses like your cousin or your uncle or somebody own, or your whoever. Find some businesses to do, even if you got to do it for free, some free work for, have them write up a contract, or you write up a contract for them and do some work for them. Really do the work and really learn. And you got AI now, it's a lot easier. Really do the work and learn something from it so you can talk about it in the interview. But if you add that to your resume, that helped me when I got my first job. Is like I did like this social media website for this business, for this LLC that my friends own, and I put it, and we had a contract this for a couple years. And I had the site to show in the interview, and I could talk about it. And I created all the databases. I created all the web applications, and I created all the stored procedures and everything. I mean, I created everything by myself. And so I was able to talk about that in the interview as real experience. I actually put it on my resume. I worked here. I called it contract work for 2 years, and it helped boost my resume up. where I didn't have typical professional experience, but I at least had something that with a reputable business, something that got like a LLC or something to it and actually build something real. You can do a lot of side projects and stuff like that, but like, a lot of these developers and hire managers they're wise up to that. They know that you can just go find a tutorial, use AI, and just throw a project up on your GitHub. They know that, so they're not gonna hold much weight to it. But if a company actually hired you and you saw software development from front to end, and you actually delivered a working product that is in production, is live somewhere, like that goes a long way as far as being a software developer. That's what they're looking for. So that's what the tip I would give people to try to like cheat the game with because a lot of it's like the chicken and the egg problem. Like, how do you get experience before you get the job, but the job's looking for experience? Well, that's sort of a trick. Like you can just work for free. You just go online. You'll see a lot of people asking, like, go look at people's Instagrams and find where they don't have no website. And like, hey, can I build a website for you? Like, just set up a contract. You pay me a penny, and I put it on my resume. Like, you just gotta be. If you're willing to work, there's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of people just ain't willing to do no free work, and that just that just is what it is. If you don't want to do free work, then you just need to wait out until you finally get an interview, which is possible too. Like, not everybody's looking for. Some people are still hiring new grads, but it's just becoming a lot rarer and rarer. I mean, it's a lot harder now than it was 2 or 3 years ago. So anyway, would you say that let's see, configure to blue Yeti, bro? Oh, is that my mic? You talking about the mic? Do I need to get a new mic? The blue mic? I don't know. I like this mic. I don't know. I mean, if I need to get a better mic, I might, man. If my mic sound terrible, just let me know. Maybe I'll change it over, get another mic. I mean, I know I'm peaking, so that might be the issue. You might have it too loud or something. Anyway, what's your stack? So right now at work, it's mostly JavaScript, so pure JavaScript. Then JavaScript frameworks like Vue. On the back end, it's mostly JavaScript 2, Node, and then there's some Java on the back end too. Java and Spring as the framework. Database, MySQL. What else is in the stack? I mean, that's really like the lower level technical stuff, like the programming languages and frameworks. I mean, there's more stuff in the stack as far as infrastructure, but I won't go into all that. So I hope that answers the question. But yeah, as far as what I use at my personal projects, I build apps and stuff for clients and like my own personal stuff. I use a lot of JavaScript there, but I use like React Native for my mobile apps. In the past, I've used PHP. I know people hate PHP, but I love PHP. So I know PHP. I know C++. I learned that in college, going back to college. I know Java, like I said earlier. C# is what I actually started my career off. I love C#, man. Statically typed language, object oriented, very powerful language. A lot of nice plugins, a lot of nice built-in stuff with ASP.NET for Microsoft. So yeah, I love C# as well. So I know a lot of different languages and frameworks. I know like React and Vue for JavaScript. I know Spring for Java, ASP.NET, and some of the frameworks over on the Microsoft side. PHP, I actually don't know any frameworks. I haven't learned any frameworks for PHP. And then I know Python, like just scripting though. I only use Python just to script stuff. So I don't really use any of the frameworks or anything like that. I just write scripts with it for work, and for personal stuff. So I know Python too, but not any deep professional level for sure. And I know I'm looking over here, but I'm just reading comments on the screen. Mike sounds good. Appreciate that. What do you think about Julia? I don't know what's Julia. That's a language? Oh, my bad if I ain't heard of Julia. Is that like top 10? Is that because that's probably like lower down where I haven't heard it out. It's maybe like more of a niche. My bad, niche language. Teach me about time and space complexity. Yeah, hit me up in the DMs, man. Like, follow me, whatever you watch me. I'm streaming on all the channels right now, so you can go to another channel and just hit me up in the DMs, and we could talk about time and space complexity. I could give you some tips. But I can't really teach you, but I can teach you a little bit. I can help you a little bit better probably in the DMs, cause it's deep, man. It's deep. I can give you some resources. What did you say? This is a must know. I would say for right now, like I had a friend that just interviewed for Facebook. They were still asking data structures and algorithms as far as like pretty much right now. So a lot of other companies are too. LeetCode is still kicking. So I'm hearing that they're starting to change. Last time I was in an interview run, they were starting to change. I'd say probably like 40 to 50% of the interviews weren't LeetCode style. But so I'm guessing now that it's maybe even more so. But there's still a lot of roles that you don't want to get in an interview and get surprised by one of these. And so, I still think it's important to try to. It still is important, man, until these companies start to change a little bit more. Best place to learn C. Hill, appreciate the question. Hill 425, appreciate those questions. Send me, Jace. Oh, y'all talking to each other. Yeah, definitely talk with each other. Like, get advice from each other. It's always a lot of great, smart people that jump on here. Yao Ming said boot camp or college. I'm still with college. I'm still with college, like, because that's the way I learned better when I first needed to learn. I needed to be going to school, somebody sort of like pushing me to go to class, a professor teaching me. That's how I broke through to learn the code. I don't think at the age that I learned the code, I would have been able to do it on my own. Now I have the discipline because I've been in the career and I've been doing side projects and I've been doing a lot of building my own apps. Like I'm on apps on the App Store, stuff like that. So I got self-discipline to learn stuff now. But back then I didn't. So I know a lot of people starting off, coding can be very hard to learn. And if you have self-motivation issues, I think school, even though it's expensive, we all know it's overpriced and all that bull crap. It's not bull crap, it's serious, but we all know that, you know what I'm saying? But I do think it's a good way to learn how to code. So I still support the college way, and because it still looks good on a resume. Unfortunately, there's a lot of old heads that still have these management and leadership positions that still care about degrees on the resume. And so it just still is kind of a thing. But it sounds like I'm down in boot camps. I'm not, because boot camps are a great way to get into the industry if you learn better that way. So my answer is always find the way that you learn the best. The best way is going to be the way you don't quit. Because I see a lot of people spend the money on boot camps. It's cheaper, but they quit because nobody's going to make you go to the class. Like once you give them their money, they cool. You know what I'm saying? I know college don't make you go to class, but it's like a little bit more expected to go to class. Like you got a little bit more pressure when you go to college, you know what I'm saying? Or even if you're driving there, it's just because you're spending more money, the stakes are higher. Like it's just a little different when you're going for a degree versus a boot camp. If you fall off, you get stuck, you just kind of can just give up. And then especially self-teaching, like it's all pure motivation, and it's really hard when you're struggling. And so both got the advantages and disadvantages. I'm not putting one over the other. I don't like when people down the college route, because the college route is still good. I guess that's what I'm saying. Boot camp and self-teaching is good, but it's not down the college route. I know it's too much money. I know it's this. I know it's that. But college is a great way to at least learn how to code. Now, you're not going to learn how to work in a job for sure. Like they're not going to teach you everything you need to know on a job. That's why you need to do, stuff after college and practice your own projects and stuff before you get a job, just to try to get used to the working environment, at least to some degree. Source control, software development, stuff like that. College doesn't, it's more theoretical. It has a few classes for stuff like that typically, but I heard a guy saying the other day, it ain't changed since I was in college. And I was in college a long time ago. So anyway, Julia is a programming language for scientific computing. See, I probably haven't used it because my role, like I said, I work in like the chat. It's like chat, like when you go to like these big websites like Verizon or Home Depot or one of these big sites, and you have to chat with them. The company I work for does chat like that, and sells it to other companies, to big companies or whatever. So I'm not doing like scientific computing type stuff. It's more like the farthest we probably go is like AI stuff, you know what I'm saying? Which is, it's not really, it's science in it, data science, but it's not really scientific. So that's probably why I haven't had any exposure to Julia over my career. Do you like Scrum? Yeah, I like Scrum. I mean, that's all I've been doing my whole career. So I mean, it really not much, or some flavor of Scrum, or some flavor of Agile using Scrum. So yeah, I mean, I'd say I like it just because it's the only thing I really know. I guess I haven't worked at a place that didn't use some form of Scrum, but a lot of people they form it into whatever they want it to do. They skip the parts they don't like, and like, yeah, that's both with Agile and Scrum. So anyway, can you help with a stored procedure using PL SQL to run a procedure within a package? Just DM me. I maybe can help. And I can't do any like deep mentorship. I'm not going to do work for people or nothing like that. I'm not going to go that far because that takes too much time. But like, just DM me and we'll see maybe if I can help. Let me answer some questions on YouTube. I kind of let it fall off, my bad. Can you teach me the basics? Lagesh, please just hit me up in the DMs on, maybe, I don't know if YouTube even have DMs. I don't know. But I'm on all the other channels. So hit me up like on any other. I'm streaming right now. Facebook, not Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. So hit me up, maybe on Twitter, if you, whatever other channel you're on, DM me and we can talk about whatever you got you're trying to do. Ben Ply, appreciate the wave. College anytime a degree is more valuable than a certificate from a boot camp. Yeah, it's changing because I work with a lot of people that either have a non-computer science degree or they don't have a degree at all. They've self-taught or got boot camp. So boot camp or did boot camps. Boot camps are a way to get in for sure. But like its degrees still hold more weight. That has not changed in 10, 20 years. It just haven't changed. But please don't let that prevent you from trying. If college is not for you, you don't have to go to it. You can learn yourself or you can go to a boot camp. Like Georgia Tech boot camp. One of my homeboys did a Georgia Tech boot camp, and I thought it was really good, man. I like review. He gave me a chance to review some of the course work and material, and I was like, this is really good. It was practical. Like they were teaching you how to get a job better than college would. That's the thing I'll give a one up on the boot camps with. They teach you how to work within more in a real dev environment, where college is more, they teach you the more theoretical stuff. Because I remember I went to college, they didn't even teach us source control, like, at all. Like, we were, like, uploading files, FTPing files to servers and stuff, and, like, that's not even how you really work. So when I got to the job, it was like, what is this source control thing? I was, like, where was I saving my code? I guess I learned source control, after I got out of college, I started doing source control. So I learned it on my own still. So I did know about it when I got to the job, so it wasn't that bad. So I'm lying with that. But I think when I got out of school, I was doing, like I said earlier, I did a project for my friends. And that's when I started. I was like, I need to be able to save my code some kind of way, like the revisions of my code, like not just the latest version. I need to be able to go back and stitch pieces together and revert changes. And then I figured out about source control. I was like, why didn't y'all teach us this in college? It would have been perfect for college for working on team projects. But anyway, maybe they teach it in college now, but I seen a guy post a video the other day. He was like, they still don't teach that in a lot of colleges. So anyway, did you have this logic is so human? Oh, you just mean like it's not AI? Yeah, I wrote it. Yeah, I'm not using AI here. Now, AI stuff gonna come up in this chat at some point. Like I use a lot of AI. I use AI every day at work. I use it on my side projects. We're in the AI age now. So, but when you're in an interview, at least for right now, the AI goes out the window. And so you have to have some skills yourself, at least for right now. Now, I'm hearing that they're going to start doing more interviews using AI, but don't let these companies fool you into thinking if they let you use AI on the interview, it's going to be easier. It's not going to be easier. They're not going to they're not going to just let some dude come off the street and use AI and get, like Facebook, for instance, pays developers like $500,000 a year. Like on the low end, they paying like $300,000, $400,000 a year total compensation. They're not going to let some dude come out the street with $20 ChatGPT subscription get a job at Facebook as a software developer because they could use ChatGPT in the interview. They're gonna make the interview hard. So you're gonna need to really know what you're doing beyond using AI. You're gonna need to know what the AI is doing. They're gonna have tricks. They're gonna have pitfalls set up for you to trick the AI for you to fail. And if you don't have software development skills, or at least context engineering skills, it's gonna be hard for you. So please do not let the AI hype trick you into not building your skills personally in some sort of way. Please use AI. Please get used to it. Please use it. Please understand it, but don't let it make it teach you sometimes. Make it teach you what it's doing. You should be knowledgeable of what it's doing. Even if it's doing it for you, you should know what you should. If you don't understand what it just did, just give it a quick question and let it teach you what it just did at the very least. I just strongly recommend that, because I personally have advantage because I worked 10 years in the industry without AI. So I see it happen when I see people coding with AI that don't have the personal experience. I see the pitfalls that they can run into. And it's not gatekeeping or anything like that. It's just the reality of it is when they get stuck, they just can't move, because it's they don't understand what the AI did, and they have this whole code base that they built, and they don't know anything about how it works. And yeah, so I mean, AI is here to stay. But yeah, anyway, did you have any internships before your job? Yeah, I'm a strange one. I didn't do any internships, man. I wanted my summers and stuff, man. When I got out of college courses, I just wanted I didn't want to do summer school. I didn't want to do summer internships. I needed to enjoy that summer break and stuff like that. So I never did summer internships, and I didn't even do an internship after I got out of school. I feel like my internship was building this social media app for this company. It was a huge social media app. It was back in the day before Snapchat, before all these extra. It was really before Instagram really became super popular. It was really just Facebook, and was Facebook really the main thing out at that time? Because this is a long time ago. Yeah, Instagram was out, but it just wasn't as popular. It didn't have videos and stuff back then. It only had pictures, and it wasn't as popular. Oh, Twitter. Yeah, Twitter was out back then. And so, yeah, so we was I was building a whole social media site, and that was more of an internship thing. I learned so much in that 1-2 years than I learned probably in college, honestly. But college gave me the foundation. I would have never been able to learn that fast if I didn't have a foundation of knowing how to code and the concepts and stuff like that. So anyway, can you think more about how you think like a software engineer? I would DM me and maybe ask a little bit more deeper question. I'm trying to think of what you it's a whole lot of thinking. I mean, are you saying to think about how I think now with AI, or how I think about software development in general? I mean, I could give you an answer. I'm tripping. I can give you an answer. I would say think of yourself as a software engineer as a problem solver that solves problems within the context of software development, within the context of code, within the context of building software. Don't think of yourself as just a programmer, just a coder, but I think of myself as a problem solver. I'm solving problems within the problem space of building software. And so that may mean using AI to build some software. That may mean, that may mean I need to write some documentation. That may mean I need to do some tests. That may mean I need to use a product to learn about how it works technically. I'm just a problem solver at the end of the day, but the context of my work is software development. And that's how I think about myself as a software engineer. And I think that's taken me pretty far. It's got me to the principal level, which is a level above senior. It's got me to a management position before, which I, decided to step back from. I didn't want to do. I like coding. I like software engineering and architecting more than management. But management was rewarding too. But anyway, it's got me pretty far. That mindset is that we're just solving problems. We're not, don't get so deep in the rabbit hole of coding that you forget that you're working within the confines of a business. And don't get so tied up into tools. Like I said earlier, when people come on the chat and they're just hey, use Python only. And it's don't get so allegiant to one technology, because the technology will evolve. Technology moves really fast. It may evolve. It may change. Your company might ask you to use a different programming language. Then what are you going to do? Like, you need to be used to switching programming languages, switching context, adopting new technologies. You should be agnostic to the point where when you need to switch technologies, you're like, no problem. Like, I can go learn that really quick. I can go work with that. You know, you might have a favorite. Python might be your favorite in your core. Like, you may use that most of the time, but it shouldn't be you shouldn't be so allegiant to it that you can't pivot when there's a better tool for the job, is what I'm saying. So I know I'm all over the place, but that's some of my mindset. That's a tiny piece of my mindset as a software developer. I did Arizona boot camp. Yeah, give me your review on that. Like, was it good? Because I may start recommending that to people. Because I didn't do boot camp, so I really do need recommendations. College plus boot camp. I mean, yeah, if you got the money, man, that's a good. You can't beat that. I mean, that's best of both worlds. I don't agree with that statement. I guess you mean the statement about being allegiant to one programming language? Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people don't agree with that statement. I feel like you should be agnostic. I mean, I understand that you should be T-shaped. So you might be misunderstanding what I'm saying. Like I said, you can still have a favorite language or a language you know most to get jobs with. Like I said earlier in the chat, my language right now is JavaScript. If I need to go get a job, it's gonna be a JavaScript job. But I'm T-shaped. Like, so JavaScript I know very deeply. C# I know very deeply. I know a few things super deeply. So I'm not saying don't learn something super deeply. I'm not saying just jump around. But I'm saying I'm T-shaped. So the top of the T, I'm not afraid to go use Python when I need to. I'm not afraid to go use this over here when I need to. And that's helped me advance my career a lot faster, because then they want me to look at problems across a whole company. So if you're working at a company and they want you to be a principal engineer, you can't, if the CEO or the CTO ask you to do something, you can't say I only use Python. Like, when you start getting senior and principal, the languages matter less. The tools matter less. Like, you find good tool, you find the best tool for the job, and it matters for the tool you pick. But just being blindly allegiant to one programming language is not the thinking you should have when you start getting higher. So that's all I'm saying. And yeah, you might disagree, and that's okay. Like, we can agree to disagree for sure. But this is just coming from somebody that's been in the industry a long time. But you know, I'm not right about everything. So programming is a dying field, gang. I mean, you could say that everything's a dying field. If programming's dying, everything's dying. So don't be fooled. Like, don't think. I think what sometimes people come, like, they're not in programming. I had like some of my friends, they be like, man, I know you kind of hurting, man, because AI's coming and taking for your job. I'm like, dude, if AI gets my job, it's gonna get most jobs. It's gonna get, especially white collar jobs. It's gonna get all the white collar jobs, because if it can get programming, why can't it take any other job that you're sitting on the computer doing? It can take any job that you have to sit on the computer and do. It can take it. And then once you start building, you know, you got Elon Musk. He has the Tesla robots, and all these. And Amazon got their robots. Once you start combining the AI with these robots that can go and do things and perform tasks, now you start to take even blue collar jobs. So to think that, like, programming is like a lot less safe than other things, I've never really understood that. Like, we're all kind of, if you want to say that, I can agree with you, but we're all in trouble with that. So the only choice we really got is to embrace AI and just see where it goes. I'm not going to stop learning. I'm not going to stop working. I'm going to see where it goes. Like, worst case, I'll just start working on the AI. I'll pivot to something else, because I've built enough skills to where I can pivot. And that's whatever, like the argument I was just having, like, just pick one language and stick with it. That's why I don't do that, because stuff changes too much. Like, why am I going to learn one thing and just be blindly allegiant to it? And then AI comes and it's like, okay, AI is writing all the JavaScript now, and you need to start doing something else. And you're going to just be stuck because you didn't even try. I'm not saying try to learn everything too much. I'm just saying make sure that you're T-shaped, and just look that up. Just Google what a T-shaped employee is. It's not just developers, just being a T-shaped individual. It's a concept, and if you look that up, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's probably better than I can explain it. But it's you still specialize. You still can get jobs. You still specialize. I'm not saying don't specialize, but be able to know when you need to pivot to specialize in other things. You need, because T-shape gives you wisdom in order to see across a whole organization, to see across the industry, to know when it's time to pivot, to know, hey, I might need to go try to look for AI jobs now. Hey, I might need to start doing more context engineering. Hey, I might need to move into IC. Like, there's a lot of data centers being built to support AI. I may need to learn to move. Like, my brother's been talking about moving into doing more like IT work, so he can start, looking into working at some of these data centers that are springing up to support AI, because AI doesn't have the infrastructure that's needed for the future right now. Like, we don't even have the electricity to power what they plan to do yet. So there's going to be a lot of work in those kind of places to pivot, so at least them getting set up eventually. I mean, I guess they can automate all that stuff eventually too. But, we can doomsday all we want about the AI thing, but we don't know. Don't nobody know really what's going to happen. ChatGPT came out in 2022, and I got on this live back then, and everybody argued programmers going to be done in a year. Then 2023 came, programmers going to be done in a year. Then 2024 came, programmers going to be done in a year. Even CEOs of companies, programmers going to be extinct in a year. Now it's 2025, man, and they still saying it this year. Programmers are going to be done in a year. So somebody that was in 2022 that could have learned the code, some of y'all scared them out of learning how to code, and they could have got 3 years of high income job, and they just didn't do it because they got scared out of it 3 years ago. So, you can't just doomsday. I understand being aware of what the future is going to be. We all know AI is coming, but don't let it handicap you into not thinking about your future. Because if you're just going to sit around and just not do nothing, then what's your future going to be? So that's my whole rant about the AI thing. It happens every time I get on here. But yeah, that's where I sit with AI. The people saying that are the people that don't like coding in the first place. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of great comments on here. Even if I'm like arguing, like, please don't stop commenting. This is what it's about, man. I value all the comments and all the opinions because they're valid. Like, nobody said anything. There was some comments on here I was like, what the hell? But nobody said anything on here that was that it wasn't a valid argument. So it's just these technical discussions, man. That's how they get. That's what it is, man. Yeah, man. I mean, there's so many comments on TikTok. It's hard to keep up with it. What's the concept you're talking about? I don't know. I might have missed what you were. I think I was talking about AI. When you comment a mall, my college is teaching using GitHub. That's good, but it's a brand new program. So that's good. At least one college is starting to teach that. So appreciate you commenting that. Benpley. Can you help me coding a stoplight type of thing? Just DM me. Maybe I can help. I'm not gonna do people's homework and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I've been through that before, but I can give advice. I can give advice for free in the DM. So anybody, I'm probably about to I gotta get on a call in like a couple minutes, but anybody that needs advice or just wants to talk or anything like that, or just, anything, please just, DM me on whatever channel you're on. I'm on all the channels. I'm on all the social media channels, KG.codes. DM me and ask the questions. I give free advice as much as you need. I'm not going to do any deep work. So I'm not going to be your partner in a startup. I'm not going to do your homework. I'm not going to do nothing like that because I got enough stuff to do on my plate and a full-time job. But advice, questions, stuff like I'm answering here, I can answer your question more directly, give you more advice. I'm not perfect. I don't have every answer, but at least maybe I can help you. Follow me, follow each other. I've seen a lot of people talking to each other in the comments, a lot of smart people in the comments, a lot of good. I see some experienced devs there, all kind of stuff. So I really appreciate everybody that jumped in and watched this. YouTube, TikTok, especially YouTube too. Twitch, Twitter, everybody, man. I really appreciate all all the comments and all the advice that people gave me, and that appreciate y'all listening to me and watching me do this coding challenge. I know I've been answering Q&A. I'm gonna put just a big Q&A on the screen next time. I'm not gonna, so y'all know it, so people that jump in late will know what's going on. But yeah, I at least got this problem completed up there this time. But anyway, yeah, follow me. I post coding content on all the channels. Posted something today. Did I post something last night? But yeah, I try to post something every couple days, and I try to do these lives at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. But most importantly, man, just DM me if you have questions. If I couldn't get to your question, I'm sorry. I get on the tangents. It's a lot of questions in between the different channels because I'm multi-streaming across channels. Yeah, man, I appreciate it. So I will see y'all in the next live. And yeah, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you taking a minute to watch. And I'll see y'all.